yeah, I don't have a pattern for the skirt, so I'll just be figuring it out, but hopefully I'll show you how you can draft your own. It should be really straightforward and easy. I always say that, but then it never is it? Hi guys, good morning. If it's morning where you are. A couple of videos ago, or maybe last video, I don't know, what is the schedule? I would have mentioned that I was planning to do some more items for my wardrobe. So in case you're new to this channel, hi, hello, welcome. We sew things over here. And one of the goals that I've had over the past year or so is to make things that I can wear day to day. I don't know if you guys feel this way, but often when I go to like a shop to buy clothes, I'm not excited about what I'm buying. I'm not excited about the way it looks on me. I think that's the biggest issue. Nothing really seems to fit me nicely. Anyway, I've had this issue where I needed more trousers, and because I can't find trousers that fit me, and I also don't like making trousers, I've decided instead to make a skirt. Logic. I'll reference your video. I made a skirt last year, or maybe the year before, and it's one of my absolute favourite skirts. I wear it at least once a week, if not more. I just basically always have it on if I can. It's so comfortable, it's so swishy, it's just so everything I want it to be. You can check out that video here if you want. It's a really simple skirt to make as well. And so I thought I'd make another skirt that makes me feel like that. And it's also easy sewing project for you guys to sew along if you want to. It should be really easy, really straightforward, even if you don't have like any sewing experience. It should be pretty easy. Skirts are where I started. It's one of the very first few things I made with a circle skirt, and I highly recommend it because the effort versus output is like very like nicely. Like, it's very hard to screw up a skirt, in my experience anyway, because you can just like, if it's too short, then it's just too short, like by an inch or so. That doesn't really matter. In that other video, I would have mentioned, I don't know, maybe I have to cut it out, I don't know. Basically, I want to make a skirt, and summer is coming, or I was told summer is coming, but Scotland has voted against it, I don't know. But so that other skirt I have is a wool blend, which means it's quite warm and not really suitable for summer. But instead, I got this fabric, which I am really excited about. You might have seen this in my fabric haul. I'll link that one down below as well. It's a really nice pale greyish green kind of fabric. And this is a lightweight wool suiting. So it's like, I don't know if you can see, but like it drapes really nicely, and it has literally like no body. So I thought it would make a really nice summer skirt because it'll be really lightweight. And I want to make it as swooshy as possible, because here we like the swoosh. And yeah, that's what we're going to be tackling today. It should be a fairly quick project. I will be restraining myself and only doing machine sewing unless I absolutely think I cannot do it on the machine, and then I will be returning to my favorite needle. But yeah, so the next thing I need to do is actually figure out the pattern. So I don't have a pattern for this skirt. I'm going to be drafting my own, and I'm going to be drafting it straight on the fabric because, you know, yellow, or chaotic now. I usually don't make mock-ups of skirts just because of the sheer amount of fabric they take up. It's a lot of fabric you need for them, and I just usually don't think I need it anyway. And because this is going to be a loosely gathered skirt, there shouldn't be any fitting issues really. Like, it'll be gathered, so there's extra fabric there, so it should be really straightforward. So I'm going to draw out the pattern shapes on my notebook, and I'll show you that after I figure out the dimensions. Hey guys. Scotland is really determined to wash me out. Fine, whatever. So I figured out how to do my skirt really quickly. It literally took like no time at all. So hopefully it'll be as easy for you guys. So you'll need 2 measurements for this. Well, technically 3. So the first measurement you'll need is the length of your skirt. So all I did for mine was that I literally just went and measured one of my favorite skirts, and that's my measurement for this. So that is it here. So the skirt I want it to be from the waist down, I want it to be 28 inches. But then you need to add hem allowance and seam allowance at the top for it to join to the waistband. So you need to add 1/2 inch at the top. I usually use 1/2 inch as my seam allowances for everything. pick whatever you want. I add 1/2 inch to the top, and then I add 2 inches at the bottom for a nice hem. So that means that my total length of the skirt is going to be 30.5 inches, 30.5 inches long. And then for the bottom width, this was also really easy because I'm just going to use the full width of the fabric as much as I can because I want it to be extra swishy. So the more fabric you use at the hem, the swishier it will be. So that's just my advice if you want a swishy skirt. And then the last measurement that you need, so there's going to be 4 skirt panels, 2 at the front, 2 at the back. The one on the back will be cut on the fold, so that is technically 1 panel. And then the one at the front will be cut in 2 panels, and then it'll have a button placket extension at the front, so it closes down the front with some really aesthetic, cute wooden buttons. So this is just a general pattern that I'm going to apply to all of them. And then for the center front, the front panels, I'm going to add 1.5 inches to the front. The last measurement you need is the top. So usually this would be just 1/4 of your waist measurement, but because I want to gather the fabric a little bit to get an extra volume there, I need it to be at least double of 1/4 of my waist, which is, so my waist is 31 inches, but I'm adding 1 inch for comfort. They call it ease, just so your body can move. Basically, I hate tight waistbands. Like, ugh, they're just so uncomfortable. So I just add a little bit more just to make sure it's roomy, or like, you know, I can fit a sweater and put the skirt over it without it being tight, that kind of thing. It needs to be at least 1/4 if you're doing like a tight fitting skirt. If you're adding gathering, it depends on the volume of gathers that you want. I'm not going for a very, very gathered skirt. So instead what I'm doing is that I'm saying it needs to be at least 16 inches at the top, which is double 1/4 of my waist. But so my waistband is going to be 2 inches wide and it's going to be 8 inches. So this is my pattern piece for the waistband. And basically waistbands can be 2 different kinds. Or, I mean, they can be more, but in general, you can have a rectangular waistband, which is literally just a straight piece of fabric that's a rectangle, or you can have a curved waistband. There will be pockets. I've not forgotten about the pockets. They'll be in the side seams. It's just easier, and I'm not sure. I think patch pockets, so the ones that you sew on top of the skirt, could be quite cute, but I'm not certain. So I think for now I'm going to go with inseam pockets because that's just so easy. And I think that's all the planning I really need to do. It seems really impetuous to me, who plans projects for like weeks before I actually do them, to just go straight ahead, but I'm just going to go draft this on the skirt and show you. So I just wanted to show you guys the back panel in case all of my ramblings earlier made no sense whatsoever. So I actually ended up making it much wider than what I said earlier because this is a really lightweight fabric. So to have any like visible gathers, you will need quite a lot more volume. And then I just flared out the bottom here, curved it slightly, did a slight curve at the top. And yeah, this should be pretty simple. You can see that it's just a slightly shaped rectangle. Super easy. I'm just going to cut out the front now using this, but adding 2 inches at the front here. So I've cut out the last little pieces, which are the waistband and the pocket, but I'll talk about the waistband later because it's quite complex. So the pocket, I just used this pattern of a really basic pocket that I have from a vintage pattern. It's what I've always used. And so for the pocket bags, you need 2. So you need 2 pocket bags, so 4 pattern pieces, 2 for each side. And that's actually the first thing I'm going to do is sew the pocket bags together. Because basically I'm going to sew, because this is a very lightweight fabric, I'm going to sew it with the French seam, but I actually don't know how to do inserted pockets with French seams. I think I did it once and it like rattled my brain. So instead I'm just going to do what I usually do, which is I'm going to sew the pocket bags together, press them really nicely, finish the edges, and then I'm going to sew the side seams down from where the pocket will be, so minus this bit at the top, with French seams, and then I'm just going to put in the pocket by hand and finish those bits. I know I said I wasn't going to do hand finishing, but I want to do French seams because I think they're the best for this kind of fabric, but I don't know how to do, or I don't really have the brain material right now to go and learn that. So this is what we're going to do. this is the skirt here. Ooh, it's under the tripod. Okay. This is the skirt here. This is the back panel. This is the front panel. And that is a nice French seam. Got two nice little pockets. They're just French seamed as well, which is a really strong and nice finish. So the next step, there's a few things I need to do, and I'm not sure about the order, but I'm just gonna do them and then show you guys. So I think probably the next best thing to do is to do the button placket at the front of the skirt, because if I do it after it's gathered, it'll be a lot harder to maneuver on the machine. So for that, I'm going to try to find some interfacing. Basically, if you watch my other skirt video, I talked about not wanting to use fusible interfacing because after a few washes that can start to peel off if the glue isn't very good. I'm not sure I have any other kind of interfacing on hand. The other option, the best option, is woven fusible interfacing, which means you can still iron it on, but I think usually the glue is a bit stronger than the sort of papery ones. But anyway, I will just mention that my skirt, the other skirt I made, has been washed quite a few times, and it's just the interfacing on the pockets that isn't very good. The one on the waistband and the plackets is still fine. So I'm going to cut two strips, the length of the skirt by 1.5 inches, which was the seam allowance at the front for the button placket. I'm going to cut that out of the interfacing, glue it on, and then I'm going to turn that under twice and top stitch across the folded edge and then the other edge. It's time for me to move on to the waistband, so I thought I should show you guys what that is. So usually with waistbands you can cut out like a rectangle and fold it in half to make a waistband, but because this is curved you can't do that. So instead what I did was I'm missing a piece. This is going to be the full front of the waistband. This is the center front here, and so I've cut two bits for each side. So that's the front, and then this is the back, which is just two pieces cut on the fold. So the way I'm going to do this is I'm also going to interface the waistband, but I'm only going to interface one side. I'm going to sew it into two separate waistbands at the sides, and then I'm going to sew those two into one. Hello guys, sorry you can't see me, but I am here. I just wanted to show you guys the state of the skirt at the moment. I'm not really sure what I last showed you in this sewing vlog, but basically this is where it's at. It's basically nearly finished. It just needs buttons, buttonholes and the hem done. But I've encountered a problem, and as usual I only acknowledge the problem once it's more problematic to solve it. As you can see, there is something funny going on with my curved waistband. Basically, I made the curve of it a little weird so that there's this dip here at the sides. I just didn't find this was very, very flattering. Now, I have two options. I made some belt loops really quickly last night. These are just tiny little rectangles of fabric turned into a tube, turned the right side out. And these would get pinned over these bits. And then I also made a belt of the same fabric. The belt loops can be used just for a normal belt if I wanted to. But basically what that does is just it makes the skirt sit a little tighter here and just makes it look a tiny bit better. However, that wasn't 100% and it did change the look of the skirt a bit more than I wanted. I wanted something that I didn't need to wear a belt with. So what I did was, using the very last scraps of my fabric, I made an alternative waistband. Now, this waistband is a little tighter than this one because I didn't have enough fabric. I'm just a little bit hesitant to change it out because this waistband is really nicely sewn in, like the stitching is really nice. And I'm not 100% sure that this would work. I've basically just pinned it on top of this waistband and took a photo for Instagram and posted on there. I'll include it on here if I can remember to. But basically, I am super indecisive and I'm also a Libra, go figure. And so if you don't follow me on Instagram, I highly recommend, because I post perhaps too much in my stories, including posts to help me make sewing decisions, because that Libra life. But yeah, so there's just some slight stalling there, but basically I'm gonna stall this skirt because I also ordered some buttons which have not arrived yet. So I'll basically have until the buttons arrive to make a decision. So I'll see you in a couple days. Hi guys, so my buttonholes are finally here, so I thought I'd just talk you through what I'm doing. So these are the buttons I got. They're little shell buttons like that, really cute. And so for machine buttonholes, my machine has this attachment. Pretty interesting. It works in a weird way, but it does work really well. So you put your button back there and that determines the width of the buttonholes. And then the first thing I do is that I make some testers just to figure out like the settings for it and also the length. And then I measure it so that I know how to mark my skirt. So the waistband will have 2 horizontal buttonholes here as stress points. And then I just marked 1 inch down and then marked the top of the buttonhole, then measured the length of the buttonhole so I know where it ends, and then marked 3 inches buttonhole, etc. And I'm just going to put this through the machine. Now, if you've done buttonholes before, you know it doesn't really matter because at some point something will go wrong. But pray for me. Oh, you guys, I did all the buttonholes with no issue. What? I'm feeling actually like #blessed. So I did the 2 on the waistband there, and then I just did a bunch of them vertically down here. And now I'm just gonna clip these threads top and bottom. I was also doing like bobbin and top thread chicken, and I won both. Aha! And that's the last thing I had to machine sew. So the extra little reel that I bought was for nothing. But yeah, they look pretty good. So I'm just gonna trim off these threads, and then I think I might do some use fray check on them, just for a little extra longevity. And then I'll use my buttonhole chisels on them. I got them from my Jane costume. I'll link that video down below if you want to see it. And yeah, they work really well. So I'll then sew on the buttons on the opposite side, and then I think I'll just wrap up here, and the next shot should be of it worn.